Hi guys, my name is Dante. Now let's talk about how to illustrate a huge book. In this video I'm gonna be talking about my own experience in illustrating this giant project of Outlandish Curiosity, a book written by Kevin Folk and to be illustrated by me. We'll talk about all the problems and the way we're trying to solve them. Yeah, just sharing my thoughts and the way I actually managed to approach such a massive book as this one. Now, to make it clear, as you can see, 21 to 88 pages. This is like the remaining portion of pages. The first 20 pages we did in the episodes in this playlist, so check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, also a lot of ways to approach certain storytelling with illustration. This is a very heavily illustrated book. Pretty much every page is a painting with some text on it, so there's just a lot of painting in it. And as you can see, the end of the book will be the page 88, so it's quite a big one. And if you, the person watching this, have been on this channel for a while, you know that we started this book like maybe a year and a half ago. Like, this is going on for a really long time. Mostly because my main occupation obviously is this channel and whatever is connected to it. So I really didn't have enough time to work on it constantly, and at a certain point I wanted to just give this project to another artist or something, but Kevin Folk couldn't really find anyone who would fit this universe art style well or something. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm the best person for this book, but yeah, in these circumstances, Kevin pretty much ended up just being stuck with me, I guess. So I decided to give it yet another try because I really want to help Kevin, and this is indeed an amazing project because, come on, this is such an amazing fantasy universe, and many concepts I was really free to work on myself, like I'm adding something visually to them, like detailing sometimes even the idea of the character or something like that. There are a lot of creatures in this universe and everything, a lot of cool stuff going on, some drama and everything. So it's real cool. Now, the main problem with this book that I found myself struggling with like the most, that was like the first and pretty much the last problem that I had that didn't let me finish the book in the first place, was that I found it really hard to work on a series of pages, maintaining somewhat of a stylization that would allow me to spread the effort through all the pages, because I tend to like work really hard on whatever I get, and when it's 88 pages, I will die painting really well the first 10, and then I just can't handle it anymore. So trying to analyze what to do with it, I realized that my main problem is that I really work a lot easier with something massive that is one. Like, I can work really well on a giant, super complicated painting if it's just one painting. It can have like a lot of characters, very complex geometry and lighting. I don't care, I can work with it, I can make the geometry properly if I really want to. Not a lot of examples on this channel, obviously, because I always have just 2 hours to work on anything. But generally, when I work outside of the channel, like just actually work on a painting the way I want to work and that's it, it's usually very detailed. I'm like crazy for details and everything. So what I decided to do is I decided to approach all of the pages, and this is like the main advice I can give you with this video. I approached the whole book as one giant painting, as much as I could manage to do that. So I told Kevin that instead of working page by page separately, I asked him to prepare one folder in a cloud on Google Drive with PDF files. In each PDF file, we would have the whole description. Let me actually show you. I think Kevin won't really mind a few pages or something. Yeah, here we go. Outlandish Curiosity Borrow PDF. This is what Kevin prepared for me. So we open up the first PDF. We have the left composition, text 1, right composition, text 1, text 2. So I know what is gonna happen text-wise and story-wise on the first double spread. Not on the first, on the 21, 22 pages. Then I scroll lower. I have the explanations, some kind of references, pictures, and the doodle that I did before. These concept drawings that we also did in the beginning of the playlist of Outlandish Curiosity on this channel. channel. So all the material that I could possibly need on the first 2 pages are in this PDF. So Kevin did a huge work preparing all the PDFs for all the pages like this for me to easily access them. And it was really important for me to have that, so I could just quickly, you see, just scroll through all the pages and immediately access any page at any moment. And with that, I prepared this kind of grid, a giant 8000 by 8000 pixels document. I created like a grid with numbers of the pages, and I started quickly doodling, no proper geometry, anatomy, or anything, just specifying where the text will be, where the characters will be, and generally like what's the angle of the camera and how I imagine what's going on at all. Like, it's somewhat close to the final positioning, but like pretty much everything is kind of wrong because it's like a very effortless doodling. Of course, where I could make some kind of effort when I felt like, yeah, I know exactly what to do right now without making a lot of thinking on it or anything like that, I made like a somewhat detailed pictures. You see there are fields, there's certain flower action going on, and so on and so forth. You see some of the pictures are pretty cool when I felt like, yeah, in this picture the main idea was to create a really beautiful landscape, so I made a little bit of an effort to make it really pretty, but still it's pretty much a cartoonish art style for now, like a quick drawings, storyboarding, really, storyboarding for a book, right? I'm pretty sure I'm not inventing this. I'm not trying to say that I'm inventing anything here, obviously. It's just that if you never deal with this kind of stuff, this is generally, I feel like, the best way to do it, is to approach the whole book right away. So yeah, the whole book was finished like this in, I think, less than 3 weeks. There were some fixes that were not a problem at all, obviously, in this level of detail and the simplest possible rendering. It was super easy to change anything. So we finished this, and this was like a finished sketch of the book, the whole book, like one giant painting. Then I created like a colored version of it, sort of. This is not very much of a rendering, although some pictures do look pretty good, especially if you zoom out. It pretty much looks like a decent set of pages, you know. But the main reason to have this stage, it was super quick also. I was just like filling in all the shapes that I've been seeing and everything, just to make sure that Kevin and I are on the same page with the pages. Meaning, if somewhere there's dusk time, I want to make sure that I know that, you know, because it's not always mentioned in text, and I may start rendering, for instance, this page in daytime the way this page is. And then halfway through the complex detailed work, Kevin would say, hey, this is not supposed to be daytime, this is like dusk. And I'm like, oh no. So we avoided that by making this quick coloring stage. These 4 pages are like a flashback, so everything is black and white. I made it a bit like sepia color, and only the main elements of the pages were colorized. Hopefully it's gonna look really well in the final result. So on and so forth. I think it was a pretty important stage. We can see here that this is like a dusty, almost like a desert kind of look, with very warm, brutal colors of this battle. Warm and brutal, not really a thing, but, you know, in this kind of scenario it looks very hot-tempered or something. And what I did next is I actually created a new document with the resolution of the double spread, and I stretched this whole composition, this whole 8K to like 32K or something. I did this in Photoshop on desktop, and then I moved this whole thing in 2 layers, sketch plus color, to position every page under this canvas, and then I cropped it so everything else would be removed, and I saved this way every single document separately for every page. What I'm trying to say is I pretty much cut out every page like this and stretched it to the resolution of the page, so that afterwards I could work with separate pages in separate documents. And this is what I'm doing right now. I've finished page 21-22. They're pretty much all not finished yet. They're brought to a certain level of detail, some of them more detailed, some of them less. Especially the first few ones are really detailed, but then I realized that I still want to get back to this whole idea of approaching the whole book as one giant painting. So I decided to go a bit less detailed. This one is also kind of detailed. This is pretty much almost a finalized look. Also because the couple of first spreads were done in desktop, where I have a much more interface and the approach that I'm really used to, so I really can get into the details. And right now I'm trying to work on it on iPad, and one problem I have on iPad is that I don't see the preview of the brush size. Only when I touch the screen I can see the cursor, the brush size, but the moment I stop making a stroke, I can't see what the stroke will be, what the size of the stroke will be. All of this I talked about in the previous video where I was talking about the whole iPad with Apple Pencil experience. So yeah, if you want to, you can check it out. But generally, what it actually helped me to do, I think it was a good thing. I'm not sure if I'll be able to finalize the book on iPad. There's not a lot of reasons not to, especially after a few weeks of practicing working on iPad. I think I can do it, but anyway, it's not the point. The point is that now, this was actually done on iPad, by the way. Like, this was detailed on iPad. So yeah, this is what I have. In here, I have a group of 2 layers, sketch, and the bleed. Something like a frame to remind me that these areas, the darker areas, there won't be seen where pages collide together in the seam. So pretty much just not a lot of important details should go in this area. And also just due to the printing technology, all these areas right here will probably be cut off or something like that. Kevin initially made sure I understand that these areas, they're like in the risk zone. They may be not getting into the actual final page on paper. So that's why on all these dark areas I'm trying to avoid any kind of details, like important details or putting a lot of work, effort, time into those areas. So yeah. And yeah, these are much more of a quicker ones, especially the whole fight is a really complex painting, so I started doing it a lot more loose with less details, just dropping colors and making sure I kind of think through certain geometry, but not really, just trying to think through the lights and everything with a very semi-transparent sketch on top so it wouldn't bother me. And also I'm using the previous page for the color reference. I actually picked colors from this little thumbnail of the previous page so the colors of the characters and everything would be consistent. And so on and so forth. I'm pretty much like on these 4 pages right now, like working on them all together, starting with this one and moving on to this field of flowers. And in here our Gilbert, the main character, is standing in this field and watching how these tiny white dots are coming down from the mountain. So I'm trying to not make the perfect details or geometry or anything, but to make the best mood, you know? This really should look like a very sunny, beautiful field, you know? It's like, I don't know, the summery France something beautiful and romantic looking, very warm and cozy. And you see, I haven't even worked on these yet at all, but I'll keep doing it this way. I have it just in one folder. I work on these whenever I can, wherever I am, so it's pretty cool in this sense. And yeah, we'll see how this will end up. Right now I just want to go through the whole pages this way, pushing them to somewhat of this stage, a bit more detailed, a bit less detailed than this, but who knows, sometimes if I feel like detailing it more, I will, why not? But generally, yeah, I want to make sure that it's like halfway done as an actual full-size painting right now, every single page. And then I'll go through all the pages again, detailing them more. Maybe not even chronologically, just going back and forth between pages. I just feel like approaching the whole giant project this way, it just works so much better for me. And thankfully, I think it's only possible on digital, right? Because you can't jump back and forth between pages and not care much about your approach and just detailing random pages every now and then a little bit. This is something you can only do on digital because you won't mess up anything. So yeah, tell me guys what you think about this approach of mine. Was this helpful to you? Ask more questions if you have any. If some of you guys have worked with a big book or maybe not so big book, how you did it the best way, maybe you have a big experience and what worked best for you. Because I think it's a really important and interesting subject for people who wanna, you know, paint for a living, draw for a living, whatever. Being able to approach a giant project is a really awesome tool to have. You want to have that. It's really cool. And it's kind of very different from being able to paint really awesomely one picture. It's a different kind of skill a little bit. You have to make sure you think on the whole picture, which is bigger than one picture. I think we'll definitely, in the nearest future, we'll do some episodes on actually detailing some of the pages, and I'll talk about some of the stories in the pages as well. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So yeah, there's that. For now, this is it. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Work harder if you want to. Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye! I test brushes a lot, as you can see. Oh my god, I was testing the perspective grids. It's not very productive to change your working tools a lot, by the way.